Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alyson Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost. Hello and welcome to Firstpost Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alyson Grange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. South Korea sends a military delegation to Ukraine as observers. This as U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says 8,000 North Korean troops will fight on behalf of Russia within weeks. Former U.S. President Donald Trump says he will liberate the country on the 5th of November by registering the greatest victory of all time. This as the Republican calls his opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris, dumb as a rock. Chad's army has been accused of killing dozens of Nigerian fishermen in an airstrike. Chad launched a military operation against Boko Haram after the jihadist group killed 40 Chad soldiers last week. And Mauritius blocks access to all social media until general elections on the 10th of November. The ban comes as tensions mount in the island nation after a wiretapping scandal. And Indonesia bans the sale of Google Pixel phones over the tech giant's failure to meet investment regulations. This just days after Indonesia also banned the sale of Apple's iPhone 16. Hello and welcome. We start with the big updates coming in from Kenya. President William Ruto has appointed Interior Minister Kithure Kindiki as his new deputy. This after the initial blocking, a Kenyan High Court approved the appointment of the new deputy president that replaces Rigathi Gachagua, who was ousted in a historic impeachment last month. Kindiki Kithure has taken office after a colourful event in the capital, Nairobi. The ceremony was attended by government officials and Western envoys, among other guests. The day was also declared as a public holiday by the Kenyan government to celebrate the swearing-in of the new deputy president.
I want to commit to support and assist you together with the other colleagues in government, to realize a Kenya that has even greater opportunities, a more inclusive Kenya, a more democratic Kenya, and a more transformed Kenya.
You will serve without fear, without favor, without affection, and without ill will. My brother Abrake, I listen to you. The people of Kenya were listening to you.
His swift appointment comes a day after a Kenyan High Court approved President William Ruto's new deputy pick. The Kenyan High Court had earlier blocked the move after it was challenged by the Rigathi Gachagua, the former deputy president, who was removed by the Kenyan Parliament after a possible fallout with President Ruto.
Consequently, the following orders are hereby issued. 1. The applications for conservatory orders are hereby disallowed. 2. The conservatory orders issued on 18th of October 2024 in Keregoya High Court E015/2024 are hereby discharged and or set aside. Costs of these applications shall be in course. We grant leave for appeal.
Last month, the Kenyan Parliament overwhelmingly voted to dismiss Rigathi Gachagua as the Deputy President. He was charged with undermining the government, practicing ethnically divisive politics, among other allegations. Though Ruto had not publicly commented on the whole impeachment saga, analysts say it did not happen without his blessings. Reports have pointed out that all was not well between him and Gachagua, despite the deputy winning a huge chunk of votes for Ruto in the 2022 presidential election victory. Gachagua had even ditched his former allies to side with Ruto. As per reports, things worsened for him after the recent anti-tax protests in Kenya, which turned into a mass campaign against Ruto and his administration. In the aftermath, Ruto formed a broad-based government to appease the protesters and invited the members of the same opposition party that Gachagua had ditched ahead of the 2022 presidential polls. Since then, he has complained of being politically sidelined. Now, swiftly after Gachagua's ouster, Ruto had nominated Kithure Kindiki as his new deputy. 52-year-old Kindiki is a former law professor. He has been serving as President William Ruto's Interior Minister for the last 2 years. Just like his predecessor, Gachagua, he is also belonging to the vote-rich Mount Kenya region, and he is seen as a close aide of Ruto and was the face of the government in the aftermath of the recent anti-government protests in Kenya. He received massive public backlash for his stance on the police crackdown, during which at least 50 protesters were killed. And now, interestingly, Ruto government has announced that it is reintroducing some of the tax hikes that sparked these deadly protests, the same day of the appointment of the new deputy president. Ruto had scrapped the finance bill, which introduced several new tax hikes, in the wake of massive public anger earlier this year. However, as per reports, he is now reintroducing proposals from the finance bill, including VAT hikes and new taxes on the digital sector. Now, Kenya's government desperately needs to boost revenue as it struggles under around $80 billion in debt. However, amid a growing cost of living crisis, people have widely opposed these measures. Many in Kenya also view the appointment of the new deputy as a way for the government to distract the public from the wider issues facing the country.
I think Gachagua has been played. I reject Kindiki's nomination on these grounds. When you look at the recent housing demolitions, Kindiki contributed to it. Because initially it was only houses within 15 meters of the river that were to be demolished. Then it was changed to 30 meters. This caused a huge impact to the community. You'll find people since the demolitions who are struggling with mental health issues. People are depressed, and there are people who also died.
It made a huge impact.
Deputy President designates wakiwa wameshikana.
On-site letters by the Attorney General. His Excellency, the Deputy President, will be signing 3 copies.
I, Kithure Kindiki,
Do swear
do swear
that I will always truly
Ndio huyo Deputy President designates wakiwa wameshikana.
So amid growing public dissatisfaction, President Ruto is continuing to play some controversial moves. Will the appointment of the new deputy worsen political tensions in Kenya, a country seen as a stable democracy in an otherwise turbulent region? And for more on this, we have with us Stella Agara, a governance analyst who is joining us live from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you for being with us. Now, Estella, with the new deputy president officially appointed, what immediate challenges and responsibilities will they face? And how might these impact the priorities of President William Ruto's administration? Unfortunately, we lost Estella there. We will move on to our next story for now. Turning to the big political updates coming in from Botswana. The Botswana Democratic Party, or the BDP, which was in power for almost 6 decades, has lost the general elections. This marks a big political shake-up in the diamond-rich southern African country. Now, Botswana's President Mokgweetsi Masisi has conceded defeat. As results show, his governing party has overwhelmingly lost its parliamentary majority after 58 years in power.
I wish to congratulate the opposition on their victory and concede the elections. I am proud of our democratic processes and I respect the will of the people.
Botswana's electoral body has announced the final results and the BDP has lost by a landslide. It secured the least number of votes in the general elections. President Masisi, who was seeking a second 5-year term, said that he would step aside as he congratulated the opposition for the historic win. He also said that he will participate in a smooth transition process. His defeat marks the end of the BDP's long hold on power, which has dominated Botswana's national politics since 1966, after the country gained independence from Britain. Now, the left-leaning opposition umbrella for democratic change, or the UDC, is now going to form a government after securing the majority of the votes. Its candidate, Duma Boko, would be the next president, and 54-year-old Boko is a Harvard-educated human rights lawyer. He also contested the 2014 and 2019 elections. Boko has put the creation of meaningful, decent, well-paying jobs at the center of his campaign. He also proposes increasing government role in the economy. As counting continued, many UDC supporters were hoping for a clean win and an end to the BDP's tight grip on power.
We are eagerly waiting for the announcement of our Member of Parliament candidate to be announced as a winner because so far in Tlakweng constituency, UDC is doing pretty well.
I'm expecting very dirty thing that I don't think the party will make it. This year we will make it. We are going to lose.
BDP has faced its toughest competition yet in almost 60 years in power and lost. Though under its rule, Botswana gained the reputation of one of the most stable democracies in Africa. In the last few years, the country has faced economic woes. Botswana is Africa's largest and the world's second largest diamond producer after Russia. However, as global demand for diamonds has slumped, the economy has significantly suffered. The unemployment rate has also risen to more than 27%. President Masisi has received a lot of criticism for not doing enough to diversify the economy, which may have been one of the reasons for his ouster. So while the country goes through a historic political shift, will the new government fix the challenges that Africa's diamond hub is facing? Now turning our focus to North Africa, where Algeria is courting Russian President Vladimir Putin to counter French President Emmanuel Macron's recent visit to neighboring Morocco. Algeria's Minister of Energy and Mining met with a Russian delegation led by the deputy chairman of the State Duma in Algiers. Now, the two leaders discussed ways in which Algeria and Russia could strengthen their energy cooperation. Reports suggest that during the meeting, both sides reviewed the current state of cooperation between Algerian and Russian companies, particularly in the fields of energy and mining. The two expressed a commitment to expand collaboration by exploring all available opportunities. Both sides also highlighted the potential areas of cooperation and investment opportunities in renewable energy, particularly in photovoltaic solar power, as well as in nuclear technology applications for medical use, including radiopharmaceutical production for cancer treatment. And now the meeting comes just days after Macron's visit to Morocco, where he signed a deal worth $10 billion with Rabat. Algeria and France's relations have soured in recent months after France backed Morocco's claims in the dispute over Western Sahara. This led Algeria to recall its ambassador to France earlier this year. Now, the dispute in Western Sahara dates back to 1975, when colonial power Spain pulled out of the territory. Morocco and Mauritania then divided the region among themselves. However, the Algeria-backed Polisario Front launched a military struggle against the occupation. Mauritania withdrew and left the area to Morocco, which has maintained its claim over the region. It now controls over 80% of Western Sahara. Algeria does not claim the area, but has lent military, financial and other kinds of support to the Polisario movement. This week, Algeria also refused to vote at the UN Security Council on a United States-sponsored resolution to extend a UN mission in Western Sahara region for another year. This has once again tainted the diplomatic relations between Algeria and Morocco that have already been rough in recent times. Last month, the Algerian government had accused Rabat of sending Israeli intelligence agents, reportedly using Moroccan passports. In response, Algiers slapped visa requirements for all Moroccan passport holders. Apart from conducting quote-unquote Zionist espionage, Algeria's foreign ministry also accused Moroccan passport holders of a slew of other crimes, including drug and human trafficking, smuggling, and illegal migration. But with Morocco turning toward the West, with which it has had strong ties, Algeria has now looked toward Putin. Algeria and Russia have both had strong historical ties with each other. One of their main areas of cooperation has been military. Russia is one of the top exporters of arms to Algeria and is responsible for almost 70% of the African country's weapons imports. In recent years, new areas of cooperation have also emerged, such as agriculture, energy, and trade. The bilateral trade between the two countries at the end of 2023 reached $3.765 billion. Now, reports also suggest that Algeria had offered to mediate between Russia and Ukraine at the UN Security Council meeting this week. Russia abstained from voting on the US-backed resolution to extend the UN mission in Western Sahara, pointing to the political understanding between Algiers and Morocco. But it is not only Algeria's interests that are motivating relations with Russia. Amid the rupturing ties with the West, Putin has also shifted his focus towards strengthening partnerships with countries in Asia and Africa. These are now going beyond military sales and are transforming into multi-dimensional involvement across several sectors. With Algeria turning to Putin and Morocco turning to the West, a new front is now opening in North Africa, continuing with the trend of the decreasing African support in the West, as Putin gets a warm embrace from several African leaders. And finally, to our special segment, Resurgent Africa. Amid the coups and the crises, there are many positive stories from Africa that often get overlooked, but not on this show. In Nigeria's capital of Abuja, innovative technology and unique learning initiatives are transforming the life of those with hearing impairment, helping them develop new skills and taking a giant step towards self-reliance. Our final report gets you all the details.
Signs, symbols and gestures. For individuals with hearing impairment, they form an essential language of their own, the sign language. The first record of hand gestures as a form of communication dates back to 5th century BC. In his book Cratylus, Greek philosopher Plato wrote,
"If we had neither voice nor tongue, and yet wished to manifest things to one another, should we not, like those which are at present mute, endeavor to signify our meaning by our hands, head, and other parts of the body?"
But in 2024's Nigeria, technologists have married the special form of communication with a language quintessentially modern, coding. For individuals with hearing impairments, the empowerment through employment now looks just a few classroom lessons away. The initiative is named Deaf in Tech. Its goal is to make learning meet empowerment. Founded by Dr. Ayula Arowolo, Deaf in Tech is part of a larger effort by Data-Led Africa to bridge the skills gap for specially abled persons.
We started Deaf in Tech in 2022 as a response to bridging the economic gap for persons with disabilities, and our focus.
The instructors like Victor Oricha teach Python programming to these special learners.
I started studying Python. Of course, it was challenging at first. And using Python for data analysis, especially when it comes to teaching the deaf community, I've come to see the passion and the interest it brings towards the deaf community.
For many students like Nafisat, the task is not just about learning to code, it's about building a future where they are not dependent on others, but are reliant on their own skills.
My expectations when I graduate from here is to be able to find a better job with my skill.
Deaf in Tech is more than a training program. It fosters an atmosphere of inclusivity. 86% participants in the current cohort of students are women.
Gender intersecting with disability puts the deaf women way behind than even the deaf men. So if we don't specifically do something for the deaf women, we'll be increasing that gap, that economic gap. And so our focus was to get more women, and we're glad that it worked.
Since its launch in 2022, Deaf in Tech has trained nearly 1,000 deaf individuals with essential tech skills. The company says they are committed to empowering the deaf community and building a more inclusive tech industry in Nigeria. With 9.5 million individuals with hearing impairments, initiatives like Deaf in Tech are crucial for fostering equality and generating employment in Nigeria. As this program continues to flourish, the future has dawned for these special Nigerian citizens. The days ahead look brighter than the silent nights of the past.
And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again at the same time on Monday. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend and goodbye.